we will call on you. Okay, our first question comes from Justin Jackson.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good, Justin. How you doing?
Good. Hey, sorry to start this off here with just kind of your reaction on the Oscar story that came out in the Athletic, saying that basically saying that you had tried to hold him back from transferring. You know, I'm sure you've seen the article. Just kind of just want to see if you had a reaction or a statement.
Justin, he left. He left. I didn't have any kind of reaction.
Okay, I guess there were allegations that said that you would talk to GMs, say bad things about him, try to hold him back. I mean,
Justin, I'm not going to get into, you know, everybody here knows that that's not me.
right.
So we played a game. The game was over. Oscar left. I never saw him again. I couldn't possibly have said anything when I didn't see him. He left. He left. So, I mean,
Our next question, Coach Huggins, comes from Kevin Kinder.
Coach, you had mentioned Trey Jamison, I think yesterday in another venue. What kind of challenges does he give the mix of guys that you've been rolling out in the post defensively? And, you know, how do you approach a guy that you can't necessarily match up to physically?
well, obviously we got to block him out. We may have to send a couple guys at him, you know, we'll have to see how it goes. But, you know, Polly's done a pretty good job on big kids, and Isaiah is 6'11", so we should be fine.
No questions right now in the queue. Members of the media, please use the raised hand feature. We will go to Ryan Pritt.
Hey, Bob, just looking at some numbers here. Pretty high field goal percentage from this team. Obviously, you talked earlier about how his teams usually score. Also looks like they're forcing 21 turnovers a game. Are those the two things that kind of pop to you on film? What do you have to be ready for?
Well, you know, I've spent a lot of time with Andy. Andy's a great offensive mind. He was a great player. They do force turnovers. They continually switch defenses, which I think throws people off guard. And we've had this will be 3 days, 4 days to work on UAB, which we never get that much time. So we should be at least prepared.
Was that extra time beneficial, you think?
I could tell you that after the game on Saturday.
Fair.
Our next question comes from Kevin Kinder.
As I know, you mentioned a couple of times about your team maybe not giving the opposition enough credit because they don't have a name, but when in fact they are really good teams. Is that a point of emphasis with you having a little bit more prep time that, you know, while UAB may not have the name recognition, that they do have players that are capable of winning this game?
Well, I think when you look at the numbers, they deserve a lot of recognition. Their numbers are really good. They're in the low 30s. which would put them in a real good spot if the NCAA tournament would happen today. Those are things that, we try to make sure our guys are aware of. I just don't want at the end of the year them saying to us, I wish you would have told us. So we do try to tell them.
Is that a different process each year because you have guys that may learn things differently, your leaders may be different, communicate differently?
It changes every year. So you have to continually try to educate them as to how everything shakes out. Again, we try to do that on a constant basis for them, just so they do understand. I just don't want them to say, I wish you would have, coach, if you would have told me, I would have played harder. If you would have told me, because I've had that, in the past, and I just don't want those guys not to know what's out there for them.
Greg Carey.
With this being the first road game for a lot of these guys in a West Virginia uniform, is there any way to kind of ensure that, they're ready for it? And was Charleston any help to kind of prepare for tomorrow?
I don't know how to answer that. I don't know whether it helps or it doesn't help. We played well at Charleston at times, and we played very poorly at times. So I don't know. We're just trying to do everything we can do to get ready.
We will go back to Ryan Pritt.
Hey, Bob, everybody been making their 100 free throws a day this week?
They sure have.
Obviously, some of these guys are one thing, but Taz is like a career 86% free throw shooter. Is it just work with him too? Is there any, credence to the fact that some of this is contagious? How do you kind of explain his struggles at the line?
There's a lot of minutes. I think looking back at it, the couple that he missed, you can't really take him out whenever he just got fouled, but we probably should have had him out a little earlier, got him a little break.
Is that going to be a big challenge for you, trying to find rest for him and Sean, as important as they are on the scoring end for you?
Well, usually we foul enough that there's enough break stoppage in play that they can get your win.
Huggins, our next question comes from Mike Kazaza.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Good, Mike.
The schedule this week, usually when you have exams, it can be kind of helter-skelter with guys everywhere. It sounds like you've had some time. Has it been like organized practices or just guys in there when they can? How has it worked out?
No, we've had organized practices. We've kind of scheduled around finals, and Josh does a great job with that.
And if I can kind of follow up on what Justin asked you earlier, just about the story, you participated in it and were quoted. I don't know if you had any interest or reluctance knowing what it was going to be about. That seems like it's something you tried to handle diplomatically, and if not at all before. Did you have any interest or any reservations knowing what it was about when it was kind of presented to you?
I have reservations every time I talk to you guys.
On this one, any different?
About having reservations?
Just about this specific one, because the topic, and you obviously don't agree with what's said or what was alleged.
What do I have to gain, Mike?
Gotcha.
I know what happened. Everybody here knows what happened. Let's all move on with our lives.
Kevin Kinder.
Following up on Ron's question, your answer about maybe a little bit of fatigue playing into some free throw shooting struggles. When that happens, is it legs? The start of the shot kind of gets off because the motion isn't the same because people are tired. What tends to break down when fatigue becomes a factor?
Well, I think legs are part of it. Legs are part of it, and they're winded, so that's why you try to get them. That's why, and I think Taz does a really good job of slowing the process down. You don't see him sprint over to the free throw line. He kind of takes his time to try to get himself gathered.
Next questions for Coach Huggins. The queue is empty. We will go back to Greg Carey.
With Bob, with the football team of UAB playing a bowl at basically the same time tomorrow, do you have any idea what kind of environment will be waiting? Obviously, one of the bigger teams, if not the biggest on their schedule this season.
I don't have any idea. I haven't really, I haven't talked to Andy that much about it. We're not playing on campus. We're playing downtown, so I don't have any idea. We played downtown. We had a Conference USA tournament downtown in that building once, and then we played a challenge. We played Auburn in the building one time during one of those made for television challenges. So none of these guys obviously have been in the building, but.
Back to Justin Jackson.
Coach, obviously, COVID numbers are starting to spike back up again. Some of the professional leagues are dealing with it now, cancellation of games, and some college games have been postponed or canceled this year. Has there been any talks like within the Big 12 on, hey, let's get prepared, maybe we do the Big 12 tournament like this, or maybe we do it in a different format, or let's maybe just try to get ahead of this? Has there been anything, discussions like that at all, or concerns about the numbers spiking back up again?
No, I think the only conversation we had was have you guys wear those masks over your eyes rather than your mouths. So no, Justin, I haven't heard a word about it. I mean, obviously we all watch TV and we all see the numbers are spiking, but I haven't heard a word about it.
Okay.
We will go back to Mike Kazaza.
Bob, your practice schedule this week sounds like that it could have been productive. Is it any different than normal exam weeks? And then I would imagine if it's normal period, the timing is good because you have some space and you did have a number of things you wanted to work on.
Yeah, we did, Mike. It's not, it's harder for them to concentrate, I think, on practice when there are finals going on and when the game is that far away. You get so accustomed to having maybe a 2-day prep, and then when you got pretty much a week or more, I think it changes how they look at practice and how important it is.
Mike, do you have a follow-up?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Ryan Pritt.
Bob, one more from me. Just talking about Jalen a little bit, and I know he's had some offensive uncertainty, or you kind of want to see him kind of get more aggressive on that end. Does an extra day or two of practice and away from games help that? And how has he looked this week in terms of his confidence?
Jalen's been really good. Jalen had a head cold for a while that I think really bothered him more than what he'd let on that bothered him. And he's seemingly, he feels a lot better. He's got a lot more bounce in his step, but it's like everything else. I mean, you get a cold, you don't feel well, and it kind of drags things down a little bit, but he's been great. He's been great. He's shooting the ball well. I think he's excited to play.
Gonna have to put a cap on those pepperoni rolls he eats every day, right?
I think that's impossible. You know, you can, too many of them out there.
Members of the media, any further questions for Coach Huggins? Coach, thank you for your time. Safe travels.
Thanks, Michael.